I got the all-star panel all the way from the top all the way to the bottom. You know what I'm saying? Hey, and tonight we're gonna talk about the quality of living abroad versus United States of America, the big U. So we're gonna chop it up. A few guys on here is they gonna represent for the countries abroad, and I'm gonna represent for the USA. I think Fly Boy is gonna represent for the USA. Drees, I don't know what I'm gonna get out of him. I don't know which side he on. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna find out, sooner than later. But we're gonna start off with the heavyweight champ of the world, aka Jedi, aka Drees, aka Juan. What's good with you, Drees?
What's going on, everybody? It's me, Drees, aka Jedi. Shout out to everybody here in the comment section. As far as my thoughts about quality of living abroad, I guess I'll break it down in three factors. One being before you leave, two being while you're there, and three being after a while. So first, before you go, have you handled everything that you need to take care of? Have you have all your affairs before you leave? i.e. taxes and debts. Or have you diminished them to as small as possible to where you won't have a problem if you decide to stay longer abroad? If you've done that, then that's like the first part of being able to go abroad and live and be comfortable while you're there living. Then when you're there, I would say that the quality of life will increase exponentially just due to three things: your intrigue and your explorations, which will lead to experiences. But after you're there for a while, what happens when those novelties wear off? What happens when you're in Sasua and you get tired of these women walking up to you, rubbing your nuts, and putting your name? You know what I mean? What's going to happen when you miss family? What's going to happen when you miss the surroundings that you're used to? The French Quarter, the Superdome, London Gras, all these things, catfish, crawfish, red beans and rice, hog maw, chitlins and shit. What's going to happen when you miss all that, man? You know what I'm saying? But and most of all, what happens when you don't utilize a way to have the American dollar follow you to wherever you choose to live? What will happen then? Once you figure that out, you'll know whether or not living abroad is worth doing it, being it on a long-term basis or a short-term basis. So I got to say about that. Anybody else want to go?
Well, can we start? Can you screen share roll the tape and start by putting up the definition of quality of life?
You want
quality? The definition of quality.
You want me to Google definition of quality?
Quality of life. Where you go?
All right, hold on. Get that for you. I got you. All right, I'm gonna post it on the quality of life, the standard of health, comfort, and happiness experienced by an individual or group. The things that are needed for a good quality of life.
Okay, so now we can't debate over happiness because that's a qualitative measure. It's not something you can measure up. Everybody agree about that?
Right.
Right. But we can debate over the standard of go back.
Good.
We can debate over the standard of health, comfort. Comfort is also qualitative also. But we can debate health, finance,
can you hear me?
Healthcare, financial, education, and Cost of living.
Okay, cool. Let me see something too. Because I can't hear you,
All right.
gentlemen. Hold on for a moment.
All right. I just wanted to baseline that before. I'm letting somebody else start. I'm still eating, but baseline that so that people understand that we are debating the matters that can be debated, that can be proven by the facts, or or some kind of rhetoric that has something to back it. Dre's, what up, man?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm on my computer tonight, so I figured hopefully I can be heard a little bit clearer.
It sounds much better.
Thank you, guys.
Well, go ahead, man. Since you're talking, go ahead and break it down for us, man. What's your thoughts, man, on the quality of life in abroad versus the USA, man? State your claim, brother.
All right, brother. Now, many of you have already probably stated, the definition of the word quality could be defined differently by everybody in this group. So when we talk about quality, we're talking about. I look at it from the perspective of a country that you can feel comfortable with in the long run. I look at longevity when I say quality. So I don't just talk about I'll be here for 6 months and it was all good. But I try to talk about from the perspective of if I'm going to be here for a lifetime, if I'm going to be here for a few years, let's say 5 years or 2 years. That's my perspective of when I talk about quality. Now, when I talk about quality, I'm not talking about from the perspective of one country versus another country. What I mean by that is we all know America is the country for opportunity. Let's not fool ourselves. Unless you're going to somewhere over in Europe, or you're going up to Germany, or you're going to China or Japan, America, for the most part, you can, by way of education, entrepreneurship, or economics, with the strength of the American dollar, do a lot better in the United States by way of making the dollars or have the opportunity to make the dollars. But when it comes to the quality of life, as far as your health, as far as your mental peace, as far as the opportunities without all the games that you may find with some of the women. I didn't say all the women, I say some of the women. From the perspective of racism that you have to deal with in the States on a daily basis every time you wake up as a black male or a black person. I found a better quality of life outside of the United States when it comes to stretching of the American dollar, when it comes to not having to deal with the racism all day, every day. Somebody got to tell you that you're black. To where when I'm outside the United States, I'm reminded more or less, hey, you're an American. So when it comes to that those are the factors that I look at that makes it a lot more easier for me to live outside the country. At the same time, I can appreciate what I've acquired from the country. I'm not taking anything from the US, but the two things that I do notice that people lose their lives for when it comes to the United States are only two things: economics and opportunity. That's it.
All right, all right. So I guess I'll go. I want to start off by telling a story that was told to me when I was younger by my dad. He said, when people are out in the jungle and they're trying to catch monkeys or the chimpanzees, they hollow out a big gourd and they put a shiny object inside the gourd. And the primate or the monkey chimpanzee is attracted to that shiny object inside the gourd. The gourd has a narrow neck and a wide bottom. So he puts his hand down there and he tries to grab it to take it out. But in his own self-greed, he can't have foresight to say, the only way I'm going to be able to get out of this gourd is to let that shiny object go that I'm lusting after.
Right.
So I say that to say this. For me, defining quality of life is not going to be a material good or chasing or lusting after a shiny object. Quality of life, you don't have to give up a good standard of living or a high standard of living if you leave the United States. You can still have the same standard of living, the same quality of life. Sometimes depending on how you look at it, even better than where you are in the United States. But that's not a sacrifice that you have to make, a sacrifice you have to give up as far as quality and standard of living.
Travel data, man. What up? You want to go last? You looking like you got that scrap, man. You know what I'm saying? You gonna shoot the place up. Cause I already know Fly Boy gonna be a long time with his. I'm gonna tell you. You want to go first, or you want him to go first?
We can't hear you, man.
Hey,
There we go. I hear you.
there you go. Nah. You gotta give Shajaba his earphones back. We can't hear you.
Funny.
Nah, we can't hear you.
Everybody do like this.
Go out and come back in. Go out and come back in.
Hey, man, that's Colombia for you, man.
You know what?
I would cut off at any time around that camp.
I'm in Colombia.
I know it. That's why I had y'all go first.
The man was alley-oop. Looking like LeBron and AD out here, man.
I told you to buy your electronics in USA.
Okay, we waiting for him. What did everybody else have to say?
He said he doesn't know why it's not working.
Go out and come in.
Yeah, go ahead. You can go back
Go out and come back in.
Go outside, live stream it. Then.
He said he did.
All right, there you go.
There we go.
Every time I get somebody abroad on my damn show, man, I gotta go through this.
That was subpar right here, bro. It was decent enough.
I think we had to attack name.
So what?
It looked like it's North America versus South America tonight.
yeah. He's ready. He's ready for us. He's ready for us.
My boy, where you at, man? I don't know what happened to him.
Whoa! Get ready to rumble!
Drum roll.
Rumble. What's going on, fellas? All right. Well, while the quality of travel science's computer gets back in order, let's talk about the quality of life. Now, I do a comparison. I'm just gonna. Now, here's the thing. I want to preface this monologue with saying, when I do retire, plan on living in Barranquilla for 5 months, a year. He's back. Travel. And try to unplug your headphones.
That's what you get for bringing the American products.
All right, let's go into it.
Pardon me. American ones?
Those North American products.
Yeah,
He's muted. He did
himself, though. He muted himself, not me.
Oh, okay. All right. So while he gets together his Colombia internet, we're gonna start with saying this. I'm going to compare countries because quality of life is based on similar qualities of life. And when I say that, I mean this: if I'm making $100,000 in America, and I move to Colombia, my quality of life is not going to be the same because it's a different situation. So we can't really compare that one. What we can compare is people that make this similar amount. So if I make $30,000 in the US, that's like me making $100,000 in Colombia. You can compare that. So I wanted to put that out front to just show people that quality all depends on how much money you make. You see, if you make a lot of money in the United States and then take your money to another country, you're going to have a higher quality of life regardless. Yes, that's a fact. But what it doesn't mean is that quality of life is better. Like I went and brought up some facts from Roller Pig. You got the footage?
Yeah, I got you.
All right. So I'm going to start off with saying this: finance. Oh, right there. Finance, cost of living, healthcare, and education. Those all put forth are the quality of life. Let's just go by Colombia since we have 3 other people that's in Colombia right now. So, or that reside in Colombia. So I'm going to just start with Colombia. Now, I remember I prefaced this with saying I'm still, knowing this, going to move to Barranquilla once I get to retirement age for 5 months a year. Now, let's start with Richie Rich. Let's start with the easiest one, economy. You see, economy it should be It should be like.
I got you.
You got me? All right. So as you can see on this paper, this is what I showed on the last podcast that nobody really seen. Let's start with economy. The reason why we start with economy because one thing around the world that changes how people treat us is money. No matter what country you in, people say there's racism. There's not racism. It's just that, as we said in the last podcast, money changes how people treat you. Money changes at what level of racism they will accept and what level of racism they won't treat you as. So I can go to Colombia as an American who they automatically presume has a lot of money, regardless if I'm black or white, and they not even care about the color of my skin. You know why? Because the United States is the #1 most powerful economy in the United States. So even the poorest people in America, even the bottom poorest people in America are wealthier than some other third world countries, like Colombia. Some of the poorest people who make $30,000 a year for a family of 4 and live like kings and queens. And that's why they treat us different. It's still racism, and people are saying, oh, there's not racism. And people are saying, but it's still racism because simply we have money. We're the #1 economically driven place. Now, the next thing I was talking about quality of life, if you can go to the quality, we'll go to the quality of life rankings. You see that? The quality of life rankings. Now, this is all from Google. I didn't type any specific in. I just took the first one I saw from Google. I just put in the first one here so you can see that this is what it is. Quality of life. The first one is Canada, and then it's Sweden, right? Now, as you scroll down, you see the United States is number 17. If you scroll down, or go to the next one. Go to the next picture, I mean. Yeah, you see the United States is number 17. Now, Colombia wasn't in that top 17. I mean, you can Google it yourself to find out, but it wasn't in that top 17. And we're talking about quality of life based on the majority of what people think. Now, we can all have our own opinions, and that's fair. But we have to understand that the majority, as right now, is the point at which we can all say most people agree upon. So right now, most people agree that quality of life in the United States is 17. Now, let's keep going. Let's go down some more to where it says education.
Shout out to Markel, man. Thanks for the super chat, brother. Y'all hadn't heard of him, go check him out. Markel's TV. He's in Colombia.
Yeah.
I would love to have him on this panel to talk about quality of life.
You see right there where it says education? No. It's right under the flags. Go down. Right there. Education in the world. United States is number 2 in education in the world. No, we're not #1 in everything, but number 2 is pretty good to be the highest in education in the world, which means that your children and your children's children will be able to be what the world considers more intelligent than the rest of the world. Not common sense. We're just talking about book smart. We're just talking about able to move around in the world, educational wise. In the United States is number 2. Number 2. These are all facts. It's not me making this up. I didn't type none of this up. You can Google every fact that I show you. We're number 1 in the economy. We're number 2 in education. We're number 6 in quality of life. Now go keep going down some more. We're gonna go to healthcare because everybody keeps saying, "Oh, you live a stressful, anxiety, better life in other countries." But I think for the majority of us, because I'm not going to minority, because there are people that can do that, and there are people that feel more comfortable in other countries. But I'm talking about the majority, because we have to deal with the majority because that is what works for the most people. Now, and then what that works for the most people doesn't work for everybody. So there's always other people, there's exceptions to the rule. There's not the rule. There are exceptions to the rule, and that's what I want to separate for you guys. All right, on healthcare, we are number. We are number. I think 178. Where is that healthcare?
Did you have it on there?
47. Yeah, we are 37 in healthcare. 37 around the world in healthcare. You see it?
Yeah.
We're number 37 around the world in healthcare. So as I said, it's like, here's the thing. It's like you're playing with anybody ever play like Madden or play a game like a basketball or football game where you have the sliders on characters where it depends on how good the character is. We don't have one slide all the way up. We have multiple slides all the way up, which if you average it out makes us the best country to live in and to prosper from. Now, individually, yes, some of us can have a better quality of life in other countries with the money that we have from America. But if we were born in those other countries, we wouldn't have the opportunity that we have in America. The quality of life in America is better than any other country as a majority. Or at least Colombia, right?
If you go by the statistics that you've shown, absolutely correct. But remember what I mentioned before, that which holds true. Most of what you mentioned centered around education, economics, or some form of materialism in one capacity or another, whether you're paying for your medical or whether you're paying for your education or whether you're making money because you're working for a corporate structure or you own your own business. So I'll give those to the United States all the way through. But yet at the same time in 2017, 2018, Forbes did not put the United States in the top 10 listed places to retire in the world. They actually put Cali, Colombia as the number one place in the world to retire in the world. In 2016, they did not elect one of the countries or cities in the United States or even in North America to be the most innovative city or up and coming city or growing city in the world. What they chose was Medellin, Colombia in 2016 to be the most innovative, up and coming, futuristic city in the world. So if we go by materialism and we go by economics and we go by the things that can be paid for by money, like education or healthcare, you are absolutely correct. America ranks high. That's why people are jumping over the fences. They're not killing themselves to come see the Grand Canyon. They're not killing themselves to come see Statue of Liberty. They are killing themselves because they're like, listen, I do want a better education for my family. They're trying to go through Mexico and they're dying because they do want a better opportunity as far as business, as far as economics or entrepreneurship. You'll see somebody come to the United States and they'll live 20 people in one apartment. And they'll save and grind that money. And 10 years later, they own 20 grocery stores in our area. So yes, America, like I said yesterday, America is one of the few countries in the world you can start off as a crackhead. And the day you decide, I do not want to do crack anymore, I want to become a famous actor, you can be the next Samuel L. Jackson, who's the most box office draw in world history for being a crackhead. America gives you that opportunity. The other thing that America gives you is the ability to have the American dream. Other countries don't instill that in you. America tells you that you can sit back and take an O and turn it into a key in regards to business. So and I'm just using street slang, but what I'm saying is America tells you you could take a penny, and if you take that penny to a corner and somehow, some way, by patience and ingenuity and learning from others, you can take the time out and grow a business, whether it be online or whether it be through the fact that you had to go through a seminar or workshop, America teaches you that you can do it somehow, some way. It may take a long time, but in America, we have that opportunity to where in other countries, I can say like Colombia, Afro-American can, Afro-Colombian can sit back and say, like we do in America, hey, I want to start this business, and in the next 5 years, this business is going to be booming. A lot of times, Afro-Colombians don't have the opportunities, or others, and they aren't instilled with that mindset to do that. Even if the opportunities are there, the American dream that we were raised in tells us that one day we could tell F you to our corporate jobs and slowly but surely begin to implement starting our own businesses. And that's the one thing that I can say that I really enjoy about being in America. But when it comes to the future of where the world is going, they don't talk about, like I say, Forbes doesn't talk about it. The other world organizations do not talk about America being the city of the future. Statistically, actually, the true fact is America lost its #1 ranking in the world as far as economics to China almost 14 months ago. China is the #1 economy in the world right now. China acquires a billionaire right now every 23 days. China is #1 in the world. We need to look that stat up to see if it's United States or China. But let's say, just like Flyboy said, it's that's apples and oranges. That's neither here nor there. My point in saying all this is that if we look at from the point of taking advantage of economics, yes, you need, or hopefully we've been blessed, let's put it like this, to be born Americans in the country that we live in, because we have the opportunity to take up education and economics. But at the end of the day, this is why so many actors and actresses and famous people are leaving America after they make their money, after they get their hustle on. That's why so many people that come to America may be flat broke, but they're sending their most of their 10x of the money in America, a lot of it back home to their home country, because they're going back home to the home country. And I'm going to end my statement with this. I remember 20 years ago, an African guy told me this. He said, America is make your money. It is not where you live. And I thought, man, you crazy. You don't know what you talk about this America, blah, blah, blah. Until he started showing me photos of his home in Nigeria. Of what his home in Nigeria looked like. Looked like a beautiful metropolis. He started showing me other countries and other cities around the world. He said, Andre, America is where you go to make your money or get your education. It is not necessarily the place where you have to live, because you can take that money and do a lot more with it in other locations.
You mean?
Travel, you with us?
Oh man.
Travel. Okay, Travel.
Come on, bro.
We're gonna, the man that normally has more to say than most of us.
It's a conspiracy.
Yeah.
Will anybody next on the panel want to say something?
I see the main movement his head. I thought he wanted to say something, but I go back in. Here's the thing though. I never disagree that we can live a better life with the money that we have in another country. But when we talk about quality of life, we're not talking about taking our money from the United States and living somewhere else. We're talking about just comparing the two qualities of life. So when you say the quality of life, the doctors in America are better than the doctors in, for all intents and purposes, we just say Colombia. The doctors in America are better than the doctors in Colombia. You can make more money in America. You can make. There's the proof. He just showed. Hey, you got the post again? Rotate.
I can concur. I can concur with that to a certain extent.
Right. The economics in America is higher than the economics in Colombia. The healthcare in America is higher than the education in America in the United States is higher than. So we keep going higher and higher than Colombia. How do you turn around and say, as a majority, the Colombia quality of life is higher, when in every rank the United States out tops it? That's my point. Like
now let's talk about the part of in regards to also we talk about tangible things. We talk about visible things. The one thing that we talk about in regards to why we consider other countries such as Colombia or whatever it may be. Some people may even consider some of the islands or have a better quality of life are the intangible, the invisible things that cause us to move to another country. America doesn't even rank in the top 25 countries of emotional intelligence. We actually are considered one of the rudest countries, the most disrespectful countries in the world. You can walk past an American all day long, and maybe one person may say hello to you when you say hello to them. In other countries, actually Colombia and El Salvador and Ecuador, Philippines, and I forget the other one that ranks number one, and it's over in the Middle East somewhere. They have far more emotional intelligence than we have. That's why they are much more seem like they're seeming more. They're more family oriented. They're more community oriented. With even though they have less than us economically, less than us when it comes to education, healthcare, and all those tangible things. But when it comes to the untangible things, I've seen more. I've seen more billboards with black models as the centerpiece in Colombia than I've seen billboards in my own country with black models as the centerpiece. I go to America, the first person that's in the centerpiece of the billboard in America is the white girl. No offense to the white girl. I come to Colombia, I see the black girl that's the centerpiece. I don't see when I go to America.
Hold on, Dre, man. I gotta stop you on that.
Yeah, now
Hold on.
What part of America you looking at, man? Because if you go to Times Square, ain't nothing but black women on the time boards, man. I don't know what part of America you talking about.
You
Like,
tripping, man.
I'm saying,
Hold on, Dre. You're saying in
Medellin.
Medellin, Colombia. You're saying in Medellin, Colombia. I know
I
you're
didn't
from
Medellin.
Cali, but in Medellin, let me speak though. You're saying if you walk down the street in Medellin,
I did not say Medellin.
hold on, all right, let me pause you then. Well, you saying in Colombia, whether it's Medellin or Cali, you saying people walk down the street and speak to each other more than America? You can respond.
Cali.
Far more.
In Cali.
I don't believe that, man. I never had no Colombian lady say, "Hey, how you doing, sir?" When I was walking down the street in Medellin. I mean, that
I'm not
ain't
in Medellin. I'm not in
all.
Medellin. I can't tell you what goes on in Medellin.
You've been in Medellin, though.
Wait, Demain.
I've never had that problem.
Demain.
So what I want to point out with both of you guys, so Fly, what you said about Times Square in New York. Times Square is going to have more what they call minorities in Times Square, New York. Dre might not have been talking about Times Square, just as Cali, Colombia is going to have more black people in Cali, Colombia than Medellin, Colombia. I've lived in both places. So I've seen what both of you guys are talking about. You understand? But outside Times Square, if you go through all out places like Philly, if you go through all out places of Pennsylvania, you go through the Midwest, you're going to see majority Becky's.
No.
Majority. I'm not saying all. I'm not saying all. I'm saying majority. Also, in Colombia, particularly me walking down the street in Cali, Colombia, walking down the street, people would say Buenas tardes, Buenas tardes. In DC, I lived in DC, so you can't. I lived in DC for 12 years. You say something like that, say, hey, how you greet people, they looking at you like, what the fuck you want? Excuse me for the curse. I've lived in DC for 12 years, bro. And that's another black city, DC. I've lived in Atlanta.
I can go to Atlanta and they talk to me all day long.
Well, that's Southern hospitality.
They talk to me all day long. I can go to New Jersey, and they say hello and chat all day long.
Not in DC.
If people are taking their experience in a small environment and spread it throughout the whole thing, and that kind of like deters a lot of people from understanding the truth.
So Dre, you saying more people speak to you in Colombia than when you was in Florida?
I kid you not. In Florida is the South.
Florida, yeah.
It's kind of funny because I'm a thinker, so I'll purposely experiment with something. I say, okay, let me see if it's just me. Let's see if I'm crazy. So I'll sit back and I'll say, when I got back to the States, I said, well, let me see if they're just as friendly here. And this is Florida, tourist city, tourist state. It's the South. So I know they're going to be friendly. No, I purposely would go around and would just say, and not just walking up to people. Don't get me wrong. Like if you walking past somebody, you say, "How you doing? How you doing today?" Nobody said anything, or "Good morning." Nobody said good morning. And you're wondering like, and I'm not mean mugging, and I'm not looking crazy at anybody. It's just, but if I said here just this morning when I was holding the door open for somebody, automatically, Buenos dias. It was just a given. When you go somewhere, Buenos tardes, good afternoon. Buenas noches, good evening. It's part of the makeup. I was talking to Andrea the other day. She said, even before you speak your topic, you the respectful thing that you're supposed to do is say hello, hello or good evening that day, and then you say whatever topic you want to say. I didn't even know that, but like I said, I live in Cali, so I don't experience Medellin, which is a tourist-ish type of environment compared to Cali, which is still somewhat organic Colombian a Colombian environment compared to Medellin. So I can't give my opinion on Medellin, just like I can't give my opinion on Times Square. But I've lived in Chicago, I've lived in Cleveland, I lived in Detroit, I lived in the Bay and San Francisco area and Oakland area. I'm telling you, we are not known as people that are greeters, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that we aren't known for the invisible. America, that's what my point was. We're known for the visible, tangible things that you can acquire, which is cool. Education, healthcare, even though most people don't know that 1 in 6 deaths are actually due to medical negligence. 1 in 6 deaths in the United States are due to something that the doctor did wrong or diagnosed wrong. However, I digress. My point in saying all that is, and I'm gonna let you speak, Domain, as well as is I'm not trying to talk about either or. I'm kind of like Flyboy and Flyboy, and Flyboy is like, listen, at the end of the day, I will be living so many months outside the country and so many months inside the country. So I do understand and respect the value of being an American. I'm not crazy, and I appreciate what God has given us the ability to. Even more, I appreciate because I see what goes on outside America. I appreciate America even more. But at the end of the day, I appreciate the invisible things that I'm acquiring outside of America, inside of America.
And all right, let's let Dries respond, and then we'll get back to you, Domain.
Listen, I think what y'all were discussing earlier, that was more about classism than it was racism, Flyboy. And as far as like the doctors being the best doctors from the United States, that might be the truth, but a lot of those doctors are not doctors that are originally from the United States. Those are people from like Africa and India and shit. You know what I'm saying? So they come here and make our educational system better, but you know, we ain't better. The people that's causing them 1 in 6 accidents, those people from Texas, those people from Virginia, the motherfucker with the officer like Curry, he doing this stuff. So a lot of those people those doctors that come from that make the educational system better outside of the states.
Right,
and so I'm not really go ahead. I'm not going to get into the statistics. I just want to stay on.
That's what makes the United States great, because everybody wants to come here to contribute. It's not a place where we just saying people that were born in the United States are the ones that's making the United States the way it is. It's just that everybody from all over the world. We're the only, like I've traveled a lot, and we're the only place I've seen outside of maybe, and I'm not even going to say London. I want to say maybe London, but I didn't see a lot of Spanish people in London. When I say Latin American people in London, I didn't. So we're the only place in the world that have this many different diversity of ethnicities, because everybody wants to come here to make something themselves and they add something to America. Now here's the thing that somebody said earlier, that I think Dre said earlier. People always think it's the place they live that causes the issue, rather than their mind state. You see, how you are determines how people react to you. Me, when I go outside, let me see if I can share a little bit. If I go outside, let me see if I can I share the screen?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not sure how it's gonna work that well, but I'm gonna try.
Look at the bottom. Just say screen share and hit that.
I want to share. I want to get the pictures up first because I want to show some things. Like, all right, how do you do pictures? Do I open this in a different tab? Yes, I guess I do. Okay. Um, photos. No, what I want to show you guys is that life, and the reason why a lot of people say they have anxiety and everything, and they want to go to another place, that can also be solved if you fixed it within yourself. You see, if you fix something within yourself, you no longer have to move. You ever see all the people that just move places and then take whatever drama they have with them? If they would just have fixed it where it was at, then they would be okay. All right, now I'm going to show you some places that he mentioned that he wasn't, getting a lot of love, people walking up to him, and I'm going to show you my experience in these places. All right, I can do it here then, and I'll put this here, and I'll share screen. Share screen. All right, can you guys see my application window?
Not yet.
You guys see my,
Hit the bottom where it says share screen at.
let me see. Application window. Okay, application window. Right. Okay. There we go.
Top left, yeah.
I got it. Share. All right, you guys can see the screen. You see the screen right here, right? Now, this is just around the United States that I've been. I have no connections. I wasn't famous. I wasn't the coolest guy in the world. I'm definitely not the attractive guy. I'm not like what's his guy name? Nathaniel, where I'm like, and like brolic, and I just demand authority. No, I'm just a regular 5'9" guy, 160 pounds at one point. I'm 190 now, with a gap tooth and a hairline that goes back. But I can go around the world. Let's go, Brooklyn, New York. I don't know none of these people, right? And look at the love that they're showing me, just for me going there around with people. This is not me being famous. This is me being a regular person going up to them. It's all the way you carry yourself that depends on how people treat you. It's not where you're at. It's not what you're doing. Let's go again. Where else can we go? I'm gonna go show you a couple other places. Here's a whole nother thing. EDC, Electric Daisy Carnival. White people, Asian people, and me. And look, it's still the same. This is my little token black guy that I had, and they're showing love. I don't know none of these people. It's just the way you treat, the way you offset yourself, is the way they show you love.
And you're absolutely correct.
And I'm proving that.
About events such as those that you just showed.
Okay.
You're absolutely correct.
I'll show you one that's not an event.
We all showing love.
I'll show you one that's not an event. I was just in Cuba, right?
That's Cuba, bro. That's Cuba.
These girls are not from Cuba.
They're tourists.
You know how
Cuban. Okay.
Absolutely correct.
Let me try. Okay.
But we're talking about I'll give you a quick story, and I don't want to interrupt the main. I remember I was in Medellin, and I was trying to find a place that would give me some information on citizenship. And so instead of the people just pointing, a couple of people actually showed me. They actually walked me to the point where I got to my location when I was in Medellin. And I heard about, that it's quite often that a lot of times people in Colombia consider Colombians their GPS, because Colombians will actually walk you to your location. Not all, but it's common. And so when I came back to the States, there was an old lady in a wheelchair at Walmart. And she was in the middle of, I'll never forget this. This was a couple months ago. She's in the middle of the aisle, and she's asking women that are walking by, could you show me where the makeup counter is? Could you show me where the makeup counter is? Now, women are just walking past this old lady in a wheelchair, and she's not being rude or disrespectful, just walking past her. Me, a guy who learned the lesson in Colombia of being somebody's GPS, I say, ma'am, I'll show you where the makeup area is, and I'll then point. I did what Colombians did for me. I walked that woman as a man to the makeup area to where she can get her Maybelline or her Max Factor. Where after all these women who just walk, and I watched it for a second, I just want to see. Like I said, I think let me see what's going to take place. Those are the invisible things that I'm talking about that you acquire from other countries. Not saying that they're not in America, can never be in America. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is it's kind of odd that I learned to be a human GPS for somebody here compared to in my own home country, that being the norm. I'm not saying that it's uncommon in America for us to look out for each other. I'm just saying that here, quite often, I found it being the norm uh, to be a human GPS compared to, and I took that habit I picked up, I took it back to the States, and it's kind of funny that I could use it for an old lady in a wheelchair.
All right. Shout out to Mr. G. Appreciate you, man. Said people in Colombia are way more greeting friendly than the U.S. So to the main, this brother is a flawless Spanish speaker. Y'all need to take his classes. Y'all need to go to Andalus Learning Center on
Andalus
YouTube.
learning.
Andalus Learning. You know what I'm saying? By the way, go ahead and speak your piece, brother. I know you've been quiet for a minute.
Yeah. Okay, so Fly Boy, you got charisma. So stop trying to downplay yourself, man. Stop trying to downplay. I see you in action, man. I recognize you. I see you in action. Stop trying to downplay it like you're just a normal, regular, everyday guy. You got charisma. People are attracted to charisma. When you get a camera out, because I have a camera and I do the same thing, people's attitude changes differently. I'm gonna give you an experience as far as, and you said they were from America. That's right. But you know what? I meet people from the United States in a foreign country, and we're more friendly and more have more camaraderie than when I go back home. Everybody's cold. Not everybody, but 90% of people are cold as ice. So your evidence, you're a cool dude, you got charisma, but it's not going to win an argument as far as people being more emotional intelligent in Colombia as opposed to United States. Let me do this. I lived in Charlotte, DC, Atlanta. You know what I used to do? I see somebody coming, I would hold the door for them because that's how I was raised. And I would expect them, you know what I'm saying? Thank you. You know, I do that in the United States, Charlotte, DC, Atlanta. They don't say shit. Like I'm obligated to hold the door for me. So I had to come outside of my hold on. So I had to come outside of my character and stop holding the door for people because they couldn't be polite enough to say thank you. Now, when I do that in Colombia, people say gracias.
But do you do it for them to say thank you, or you just do it because you're a kind person?
Well, I used to do it because that's how I was raised. Now I don't do it anymore because I feel as though it's disrespectful for someone just to not be human and kind. So I don't do it in the States anymore.
I do it all the time. You know why? Because I don't care if they say thank you or not. I was just raised with politeness to do it. And I think by doing it, you shouldn't do it to expect somebody to react a certain way. You should just do it because you're a good person. And once you have that positivity in yourself and you're just doing it out of love, that love is going to be reciprocated. It always does. You say I'm charismatic. No, that's just me being positive about life. And when you're positive about life, you attract positive people. Positive attract positive, you know?
That's a part of the definition of charismatic.
Hey, but I get what you're saying, the man, because sometimes I go through that, man. Some women, you open the door for them and they be like, you know, they think you about to holler at them or something, so they do that. They do that. Some women.
I got a little bit of trivia for you guys. Did you know the guy that invented the revolving door? He invented it because he did not feel that a man should have to hold the door open for women. So he invented the revolving door because he feel men supposed to hold the door open.
Oh yeah, Drees. Oh yeah, Drees. Go ahead. Drees, let's go Drees and then B-Dot. B-Dot, you still with us, right? Go ahead, Drees.
Yeah, man.
On Saturday, I went to the French Quarter. I got a clock. About to step on the bus, I step back, lady jump on. First, lady looked at me and went on about her business. So I said, all right, I'll fix your bitch ass. Got on the bus yesterday to go to the French Quarter. Bus stop. I hopped on first. She go holler some motherfucking, oh, I'm sorry. She go holler some, oh, you ain't gonna have no courtesy? Bitch, no. You know what I'm saying? That's just dead with me, man. You know what I'm saying? That bullshit's dead with me, man.
I'm saying I think
You know, I'm just being honest.
Let's go to beat out after Drees. We're trying to get everybody. We pushing an hour
Go ahead,
already.
B.
Don't seem like it, but
Yo, what's going on, fellas? Can y'all hear me?
B, yeah,
Yeah, man. As everybody know on this panel, I travel a lot. I've traveled all over the damn country, and there is a such thing as Southern hospitality. You know what I mean? Like,
true.
people do say good morning more in the South than they do up north. But I do get from all over Colombia. I get more respect. I get more hospitality. I get more people really trying to help, genuinely trying to help. You know what I'm saying? So, and there are always isolated situations. You know what I'm saying? Everyone goes through and everyone experiences. But me personally, I have had more of a hospitable time with more people in Colombia than the United States. And like I said, now in the South, when I worked in the South, Alabama, Louisiana, South Texas, yeah, people say good morning and they're a little more hospitable. But there's still it's still an aspect of the Southern situation as far as history as well. So they'll speak to you, but that's pretty much about it. If you ask them something or ask for a favor or something like that, they're not really going. They ain't going all the way over. They ain't going all the way over there because they was raised the same way too. To be hospitable, things of that nature. But like I said, as far as overseas, even in DR, what I'm saying, Colombia, DR, Mexico, people are a whole lot more hospitable. They're willing to help, mainly in Colombia because that's where I spent most of my time for the past 3 years in Colombia. So yeah, I will say that, and also I will say me personally, I do feel like I do have a better quality of life when I'm in Colombia. So much so that when I'm off, I go straight to Colombia. You know what I'm saying? I don't spend too much time here in the States. Not that it's just so bad. It's just that Colombia is just so good to me.
Is it because of the money you make?
I make excellent money in America. Excellent money.
That's what I'm saying. Is it because your money goes further in Colombia that you have
Yeah, exactly. My money goes farther there, and I have a better quality of life for that money.
right?
I'm not living in a hut. I'm not a bargain shopper. You know what I mean?
Not a
I
peasant.
ain't living in I got hot water and shit like that. You know what I mean?
You got air conditioning too, right?
Not, you know what? Surprisingly, a lot of places in Colombia, even the upscale spots don't have AC. Just depends on where you go.
Right.
It depends on where you go. You got Medellin, you got Bogota, which is cold. You have Cali, you got Barranquilla, Santa Marta. So a lot of places I go that are upscale don't have AC. I remember one time I went to London. I went to London years ago, and it was kind of hot that day in London. It was a little warm. I spent $4,000 in 3 days in London. All I did was eat, have a very nice hotel, and shit like that. And the hotel I was staying in didn't have AC, and it was kind of warm that day. And I was expecting it to have AC. I'm paying all this fucking money for a hotel, and they don't have AC. But it's just AC is just kind of hit or miss. You know what I mean?
Do you think your quality of life would be the same in Colombia if you didn't make the money?
You said if I didn't what?
If you didn't make the amount of money that you make, do you think your quality of life would be the same in Colombia?
It depends because someone can take $40,000 or $20,000 to Colombia and still live okay. You can live off $1,000 a month in Colombia and still live okay. I have friends that are there now. These guys are school teachers and they only make $1,000 a month. And every weekend they send me videos and pictures of having fun, going out, smoking hookah, drinking, got girls and everything. So,
then we pretty much all agree that America has a better quality of life as a majority. But when you take that money, you can live better in a higher quality life than somewhere else. Not
as me personally, with the money I make, and I don't want to go into numbers, but I'm in the top 3%.
We got you.
And I'm not bragging, but I'm just saying that's just the facts. I'm in the top 3% in America, and I have a better quality of life in Colombia than I do in America.
Right.
And it's not so much of where you stay and what kind of car you drive, because I don't even drive a car over there. But it's just the way people treat me and the way, I move around. It's easier for me, and I like it. And people are a whole lot nicer there.
Right.
And I'm not saying I'm not putting down America at all. I'm not saying F America or nothing like that. But I just like it over there more.
Hey, shout out to Tampa Torn, man. Appreciate that super chat, brother. You always coming through, man. You're a real one from the start, man. WTU, stand up. What's up, y'all? Great panel. Question to you, B-Dot. If you wasn't in that top percent, and let's just say you was making $30,000 in the U.S., well, let's say 25, right? Let's say you struggling guy. Would your quality of life still be better in Colombia? Or because you go to upper echelon places in Colombia, you get treated well?
When I go to Colombia, I live on both sides of the spectrum. And a lot of guys that talk to me on a personal level know this. I get $25 a night Airbnbs. I've shown it on the chat. A lot of guys say, "Oh man, you living in this and that," and I show them on the chat where I have paid $25 a night to stay in this place when I go to Colombia. So it's not that every time I go there I'm staying in $300, $400, $500 5-star hotels. But I do have both ends of the spectrum there, and I like to live in both ends of the spectrum, and I have friends that are at both ends of the spectrum. But like you said, if I was making 25 a year in America, I'm not sure if I would even be able to leave America to save up enough money to leave to even go somewhere like Colombia or something like that, man, because I have so much shit going on here. You know what I'm saying? But if you take that money and take it to Colombia, 25 a year in Colombia, and you can live pretty good. You live pretty decent.
See, the issue that a lot of us have is that when people say they want to have a better quality to life, the first thing they go to is women. The first thing they always go to is women. They say, women treat me better in other countries. And that's the first thing they say. They say, oh, these women in America can't treat you right. Oh, the black woman can't treat you right. Oh, nobody in America gives you the same. Yes, the family dynamic is better and more together, and the women are raised with more what is that called when you're like a women's thing? They're raised better in other femininity. Yeah. Women are raised better with femininity in other countries. The issue is that men are so scorned as a whole by the women in America as a whole that they can't see that it might be the women in the area that you are at, or it might be just the type of women that you are attracted by. Because there are so many women in America that are just the same as kindly and as nicely as a woman in Latin America, as a woman in Jamaica or Caribbean. And I don't say this to down. Don't put me in the same category as Nathan. I'm just saying that there are women in America that are still great women.
Yeah, and you're right, But if you notice, the whole time I was talking, I never said nothing about a woman. I just said, the people are nicer. As a whole, as in general, to me, of course, the women are nice, and I like women. You know what I mean? But I mean, just when me personally, I just have a better experience when I go to Colombia, and it's not all about the women because I'm smart enough to know, and I've been over there a lot more, like Jermaine and the other guys. We've had the women, we've had that. That's come on, that's a given. But when all that dies down, when all that levels out, and you got 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 women in your phone, you can just choose from. Now what else? You know what I mean? I don't go over there just for the women. I go over there. We do tours. We have fun. Go to the beach, sightseeing, stuff like that. Where I could do that in America too. I can go all around America. Lake Tahoe is very beautiful, but you're spending a lot of money. San Francisco is very beautiful, but you're gonna spend a grip in San Francisco. You know what I mean? I've been those places, been there, done that. So I want to see something else. So that's why I like to go other countries as well. Kind of broaden my horizons. Like I said, I'm not down in America. American women, there are great American women, man. I've had some good girlfriends, and I fucked up because I'm a workaholic. So it's been on me. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. You just got to have that balance. and your mindset. Your mindset got to be there as well.
Hey, can we agree as a panel? And if you disagree, just let me know. The number one draw to these other countries is the women. Can we agree to that? Go ahead, Dre.
No,
That's tough.
Yeah, that is
they are
a
not.
tough one. That was my
Man,
original reason for leaving the
let's keep
country.
it 100, man. The number one draw
Thank you.
is the women.
That wasn't
I'm-
mine.
I think
My original reason for
Hey,
going to
state your
DR.
piece, man. State your piece.
My original reason for going to DR in 2010 was because of the women. My homie from Miami told me about DR. He had a Dominican wife, and he told me about DR, and I went. That was the only reason I went. But I have evolved since then. I've matured since then. So now I go for different reasons now. But yes, when I first went to DR, I went strictly 1,000% for the women.
my first reason for traveling internationally is because where I live in North New Jersey in the 90s, everybody was killing each other. It was gangs was big, and I just wanted to get out and experience something different. So that's the reason why I just wanted to go somewhere. I went to DR first, Punta Cana, so I didn't really get the experience with all the women. I mean, not as much as going to Sasua, but yeah, I just wanted to get out. That was my reason.
I'm not saying that's the only reason we go. I'm just saying that's like the number one draw. If you take bad women away from these countries, would you guys still be there?
Yeah,
You would.
I would in a New York minute. If I hadn't met a Andrea, remember what I mentioned last night. I was the kid. The worst thing that my mother could have did for me was to give me a bike because I was never in my neighborhood. I'm like flyboy. I'm an adventurer by nature. I've lived in 6 cities in the United States. I've always been an adventurous spirit. So I'm that dude that I say cremate me and fly my ashes to the wind because I belong to the wind. So I don't belong to the earth. I would be miserable in a grave. So my point in saying all that is that you could take away the women from a country for me, but the adventure and the beauty and the customs and the culture and the things that I learned about Andre are far more valuable to me at the age of 52 than who got a big butt and who ain't got a big butt.
That ain't what I said. See, now you're taking it different. I'm not saying the pros. I'm not saying.
I'm not talking about the pros. No, I'm not talking about.
I'm not saying you're going for a big booty. I'm just saying
No,
the women are the number one draw, man. I mean, Jermaine, come on, man. Can I get an answer?
May said something.
So let me give you a little bit of background about me, and then you can make your own determination on
Go ahead,
that.
brother.
So I started working ever since I was 14 years old, and one of the first things I loved to do was buy a bus ticket and visit my family in other parts of the United States. The longest trip I ever did in my life, I was 21, and I drove my Hyundai all the way from Pennsylvania to Colorado Springs, Colorado, and stayed out there for a couple of months because one of my best friend was in the military. So ever since I was younger, I would love to travel. I went to Dominican Republic first time in 2007. I never heard any stories about the women or nothing like that. As a matter of fact, I took my 2 sisters and my 2 brothers. So now, if somebody thinks, oh, he just went to Dominican Republic for the women, why would I take my 2 sisters with me so they can see me hoeing? That would be kind of disrespectful. Yes, it would be. Now, I went to Dominican Republic first time in 2007, and I visited Sosua not until it was like 2010. So that was 3 years later because I was hearing about the hype. So I went there to visit. I went there. I didn't like it too much because it was just oversaturated. So as far as me, the primary draw is not the women, because if I came somewhere and there was ugly women, I would just bring a woman I had in the States with me. As a matter of fact, I looked for a woman in the States to travel with me. This past summer, I met this girl. She was a PYT, and I invited her to come to Colombia with me. I said, "Yo, you can come stay with me." I said, I invited her, man. I know a lot of people say don't bring sand to the beach, but I'm like, yo, my priority is not the women when I come to travel. I mean, I'm going to get women no matter where I am because I'm just that dude, and I ain't just peacocking or bragging. But
Hey,
no,
Rich,
it's not.
Rich, what you should have said, Rich, is women are a big part of travel. Now that I can agree with.
I can agree with
I
that.
said the number one draw.
No,
No,
That's what I said. No. So what's your number one draw, Dre? The culture.
Mine was cultural experience and inner growth. Mine was to be able to see. Mine is just like Flyboy. You got to realize, man, I grew up in Torp, Detroit, dude. Shout out to my city 313. I love you. I went from Detroit to Cleveland. I was Cleveland to Detroit. From Detroit to Torp, Oakland. I never lived in a place where I could sit back and say I wanted. I never lived in one place. I always was about learning cultures and learning the newness of people. So for me, when I reached out to Ace when I first reached out to Ace when he was in Medellin, and I hid in his comment section, I said, "Brother, I'm coming out to Medellin. Can you show me around the city?" I never knew about pros and this and that, and I never knew about that. All the homework I did about DR through TaylorMade, I never knew about pros and DR. I didn't know about that stuff. I'm a culture. I'm a thinker. I'm a reader. So when you got a dude that reads books, I'm not looking at what's all the time going on through the mindset of a dude that may be 22, 23. Realize I started doing my international traveling at like 40. So between the mindset of 22 or 30 is completely different than the mindset of a 40, 45, and now 52. So I can agree 100% with what Flyboy definition was. That it is one of or could be part of the draws, but not the number one draw, because many of us travel because we like to see put a backpack on and just see what the rest of the world is like before we die.
Okay.
Hypothesis.
Anybody else want something to say on that?
Here's one thing though. I'm single. So if I go, I say it's not the number one thing at all by far. It might not even be number two, but it is a big thing. But if I'm single, when I go to these countries, I'm knocking something down. I don't know about everybody. I'm knocking something down. I'm knocking something down. Go down.
Twisted. I didn't say I wasn't beating them back in Medellin. I wasn't beating them back in DR. I wasn't beating them back in Panama. I wasn't beating them back in Canada. I'm not denying that part. They weren't my draw. They were there when I got there. And I'm like, oh, they got these fine women here. But I didn't sit back and say, oh, I want to go to Colombia because we got all these fine women. I wasn't doing that. I just so happened to, like I said, when I first reached out to Ace, when I reached out to other travel groups, it was, for me, it never was about the women being on the top tier. Even then, when I was smashing them, they still had to show me around the city.
Let Drees get in there one time. And after Drees go, man, does somebody want to let Erwin in? He been waiting patiently. I can only have 6 on the panel. So I don't think nobody want to give up their seat, but go ahead, Drees. Sorry, brother. You should have been on time, brother.
Well, let me give you some of my background. I've been traveling since I was 9, man. You think I was fucking hoes at 9 in Canada, man? You know what I'm saying?
In Canada?
I've been traveling for a long time, bro.
In Canada, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe, bro.
I was hunting on girls at 9.
Boy, Canada's one hell of a place, bro.
Yeah, but it was too cold in Canada, man. But listen, a couple of years back, and my first spot I went to was Medellin. It wasn't the angle on seeing the sights. It wasn't an angle on hoes. It was more of an angle on business. I was with TaylorMade and I was on the real estate tour. You know what I'm saying? Doing shit like that. So when those people, when those ladies see me coming out of this establishment, this building, that building, and shit like that, it became a who is that guy? Why is he with him? Where is he from? Da 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 da. Da. Since then, women have always been at best a byproduct of where I've gone, where I've been, and where I continue to go from here on out. All right. And shout out on to the Bizzle, but the Bizzle. What if I went to Colombia and beat my meat for a week?
Oh, nah, hey, Pat, oh, nah. Hey, Dreezy, when we get to Barranquilla, it's the Lakers out here. We going Lakers out here. I'm talking about LeBron, AD. Barranquilla getting nasty out here this year, bro. I'm letting you know right now, bro. All that beating your meat, sleep at New Orleans.
I got that.
We gonna put
I got that. But brother, I did not interrupt you. I didn't interrupt you.
Oh,
but I'm just saying, you know, women will be first in my book. They ain't first in my book here. So I'm gonna treat these hoes the same out there, the same way I treat them out here. And it ain't none of your damn business. Y'all have a good night. Come on there.
Look at this.
Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, well, and like I said, it just depends on the experience. Now, the first time I went to DR wasn't the first time I traveled out of the country. You know, the first time I traveled out of the country was to Germany, and I was with my father. And I was in my 20s. And it wasn't a father showing his son, oh, it's a German trip. You know, we had family over there and stuff like that. But like I said, you know, my experience with DR was, you know, my homie told me about it, but not, you know, just traveling in general. You know what I mean? Like I said, when I went to Germany, I went to visit family and my godmother and stuff like that. And of course, I met women over there. But like I said, now, you know, as you grow, you mature. You know what I mean? So now, you know, it's several. I want to go to Singapore. I want to go to Thailand, and not because of the women, because I want to go to East Asia. I've never been to East Asia. You know what I mean? So everybody go for different reasons. There might be somebody that's 17, 18 years old listening to this right now, and they want to see some chicks. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But it's just levels. There's levels to it. You know what I mean? Everybody go for different reasons, and that's what makes it so beautiful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. And to answer the question of
I got a question for you, Dre. I'll put you in the hot seat, man.
Hold that question real quick. I want to answer a passport active question in regards to Mount Rushmore, Yellowstone, and Grand Canyon. I purposely visited those. It's kind of funny that you would bring that up. I purposely visited all three of those locations the year before I left to start my international travels because I wanted to appreciate places in my own country before I start appreciating places in other countries. So there are a couple of places more in the United States that I did want to go to, but those three places that you mentioned, I purposely went to before I started doing my international travel. So why appreciate another country if I can't appreciate my own country first? So that's what I want to do. And I love those locations and they're beautiful. And I recommend anybody, when they get a chance, go visit those places because they are breathtaking. Go ahead, Rich.
All right, so you say you traveled to Colombia for the culture, number one.
Yeah.
Right? So what attracts you to Colombian culture besides maybe food and the way the women treat you? Besides that, what part of the culture are you like? What's your best part of the Spanish culture that you like?
As I mentioned yesterday, you have diversity of different types of music that you've never heard from the Afro-Colombian population. Like I mentioned, yeah.
Go ahead, man. I'm reading this stupid comment. Go ahead.
Okay, you have the diverse form of music that you never heard before, that you never knew existed. You have plants and fruits in this country that you never knew existed. I didn't know that the Crystal Ray in Cali that we have, the giant statue of Christ, was even here. All we know about is the one that's in Brazil, the largest one, but we didn't know about the one in Peru. We didn't know about the one that's here in Cali. So you learn those things. I didn't know Cali was the salsa capital of the world the way that it is. And so you learn those things. The architecture and the structure and the beauty of Cartagena's and the Barranquillas, you don't see that type of vibrancy unless you go to like one of the Caribbean islands. But and also the historical part that we learned about slavery. I didn't know those things, that 96% of all slaves didn't even make it to the United States. The way we were raised, it made it seem like that we got majority outside of maybe Brazil. We got in the islands. We got majority of the slave, and a few were sprinkled on the islands, and a few made it to Brazil. No, only 4% of all slaves even made it to the coast of the United States. Most went to the islands, Cartagena, the Brazils. And so we weren't taught that. So those are the cultural things in which I learned. The way that they worship and they appreciate their God or gods, to where they still hold on to some of the African culture of how they worship that I've never gotten a chance to see in my own country. So those are some of the things, the cultural things that I enjoyed and I learned.
Good answer, brother. So mainly the history.
Modern
That's
day,
one of the main. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
like I mentioned before, they have a jazz festival here. Like we have Miami Jazz Fest. We have the Chicago Jazz Festival. And I sit back and I'm like, man, I missed my jazz music. I come to find out that Cali in Bogota has one of the largest jazz festivals in the country. I mean, a huge festival. But you don't learn those things if you just looking through the eyes of the United States.
Shout out to Johnny Mitchell, man. He was he was the one that actually brought this topic up last night. He made a great comment, and we spun a whole show off of it. We're an hour and 16 minutes in it. And shout out to you, man. He says WTU/roll the tape. Hey, we're gonna link up, man. Soon as Big Brother Big Dot get a time, we're gonna pop some bottles, baby. ATL meetup. But I'm gonna let Erwin get a chance to speak his piece, man. I'm not sure what side he's on.
I mean, as far as quality of life, I think you can find better qualities of life outside of the U.S. I'm not saying the U.S. doesn't provide a good quality of life, but I think you could find better. But to add on what Andre was saying, I've been traveling since before I wanted to travel. You know, like my family are immigrants from out of this country. So I've been traveling since a year after I was born, you know, like memories that I don't even know exist. And I only have photo recollection of it in photo albums. And as a youth, I was going back and forth to Haiti because that's where my parents are from, going back and forth to Canada. So I always had an appreciation of traveling because I'm used to eating certain mangoes that we don't find in the States. I'm used to eating kenep, which grows in Haiti and grows in Colombia. Like I'm familiar with these things, and it always hurt me when I'd be in the States and I want something and I can't find it because it's not native here. So when I was young and I wanted to travel in my, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 ages, it was never for women because I've always been traveling. Even before that, I knew my dick could do something other than urinating. You know what I'm saying? Like I've always been traveling. So originally, a couple of years back, when my wife and I were discussing on leaving the United States, one of the one of the continents we wanted to stay in was Africa. We never decided on what country we wanted to move to. But when we were thinking about traveling back and forth because our family wasn't on the same page as ours, we decided to settle on another country, which was closer. And the original country, and I believe Domain knows this because I know we spoke about this before, the original country for us to move into was to move to Haiti. But Haiti was going through a lot of turmoil right now. So we decided that may not have been the best decision. So we looked for the closest thing. And the closest thing at the time was the Dominican Republic. And the reason I'm saying that is because, a lot of you don't know, but my wife is Colombian. Her family is from Buenaventura. We've been together 18 years. So when I thought of moving to DR, it was simply because Haiti was in turmoil. It wasn't the best decision, but I knew DR had a lot of Haitians there. The culture is very similar. The food is very similar. So I can encounter my people there. In addition to that, she'll have some of her culture, which is similar to the Hispanic culture and the language. So it was a perfect median for us. Now, this is how I found YouTube and found out dudes like, Tailor Made Dreams and stuff like that. So when I went to DR initially, when I was thinking of going initially, it had nothing to do with women. It was actually for a better living at a cheaper rate. Now, when I found out about Taylor and things taking place like Sasua, I was like, oh, wow, I could get the best of both worlds. And everybody knows, if you're in the groups with me or in more than one groups, I went to Sasua, and after being 4 hours in Sasua, I was like, I don't like this. This is not where I want to live. And in a sense, I was a little ignorant because I turned down the whole country because of that one spot. Because it wasn't for me. So that already lets you know that, it had nothing to do with women, until somebody else was like, well, at that point, I decided to visit Colombia because Domain was in Colombia with Gator and Rich, and you guys were there last November. And somebody else was telling me, give DR another try, give it another try, come to Santo Domingo. So I went to Santo Domingo. And it was beautiful. I loved it. Certain things I didn't like about the infrastructure, but I could still see myself living there because I encountered my people, and I knew it would be the best. It would be a little bit more comfortable for my wife as well. But on top of that, it's like 2 hours away from Florida, and I live in Florida. But the one thing I couldn't get over was that humidity and that heat in DR, which is part of the reason of why I wanted to leave Florida, because it's hot as fuck over there. And this is how I found Medellin, because I figured Medellin is just an extra hour away. So instead of being 2 hours away from the States, I'm 3 hours away. I still have the same food. It's probably cooked a little differently, but I still have the same food. I still have the same fruits. I still have the same culture. I'm still surrounded by people who have morale as compared to how American culture has become. It's still good for my wife, who can tell the same language, but I would lose the aspect of being near my people in exchange for the weather. So my initial reason for going to these countries had nothing to do with women at all. And I'm one of the people, like, if you knew me from the original group, everybody knew that. Like, I always made that apparent. And I was always the oddball against this type of stuff because, number one, I never had issues in the States with women. I never had issues with anywhere with women. So my reason for wanting to settle and live in Colombia now is because it's the best of both worlds for me. And on top of that, I can't deny the cost of living. So if I can still generate that American income and still live over there, and I'm 3 hours away from the States, so my family that is trapped in the matrix and still have that ignorant mindset, is nothing for me to take a plane and fly 3 hours to go and see them versus having to fly from, somewhere south on the African continent. So I guess my perspective is totally different. I don't know if anybody else can relate to it, but I'm more aligned with what Andre says. And a lot of people don't even know there's a lot of music in Colombia and I don't know if there's Haitian people on the panel or in the group, but there's a lot of music in Colombia that is exactly like Haitian, like Haitian music. Like, if you heard it, you really wouldn't know the difference until you hear the lyrics, and then you would find out they're speaking Spanish. So it's.
Let me give a shout out. Let me give a shout out real quick. Shout out to Tampa Twan, man. Appreciate the love. He says, if all women around the world acted like American women, I would stay at home. And for Flopboy, I know you got something to say, but I want you to, Domain, after he speaks, maybe you can address that. And my question to the panel is, if women in America acted like women abroad, would you ever still go? I mean, would you be in the position you are in now? But go ahead, Flopboy.
I was gonna say sidebar first. I think Dre and Irwin, you need to have a show where it's new love, people getting married versus people who've been married, abroad for 18 years. I think that would be a good connect for you guys to have, like, two people getting married and somebody who's been married for 18 years with somebody from abroad, and I think that'd be a good connect. But the thing I was gonna say is that, before I get into the question, when I travel, I don't know if it's for everybody else. When I travel and I go to other countries, it's not really the country that turns me on. It's the people of the country. You see people go for different sites and things like that, and different tourist sites and stuff like that. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that because I have to do that also. But I think the people of the country is what attracts me to the country. If it's not, if there's no people there, I just look at that country to see all the beautiful views. It wouldn't do nothing for me. Like if you look at my page at the Flyboy Way on all platforms, you would see like all my videos. I'm interacting with people. No matter what country I'm in, I'm interacting with people. There's never a point where I'm just walking down the street and showing people everything. I'm actually, hey, I'll stop somebody. Hey, come talk to me. Come talk to me. And the reason why I do that is because you get to see what culture is when you interact with the people, not just go to a place. But as he said, as Roller Tape said, if women, I would still travel abroad. It wouldn't be a different because it would still be a difference. I would still travel abroad, even if women in the States, because they do. Women in the States do. I don't know if it's maybe just my experience, and that, I always emphasize that I'm not the most attractive guy in the world. I always emphasize this. Like I'm short, gotta hit my hairlines back. I still got.
Oh no, bro!
I still got braids.
Put that hair back on, bro.
And I'm not.
And you like plies, bro. You gotta wear a hat when you take a shower.
Listen, it's called. You ever heard hockey called the hat trick? I don't take my hat off until I get him in bed, and then it's too late. Well,
I didn't take a shower like. Hey, that brother take a shower like that. Be like, hey, LL Cool J back in the days, man.
I say that to say the point that like it's women in America that's like that, man. And it is. It's just how you basically carry yourself. If you bring that positive energy, you'll eventually meet. Now, there's a lot of ain't shit women here. Now, and by no means, I don't want you to think that this is some Nathan stuff. By all means, there's some ain't shit women here. And I'm not trying to emotionalize you to come see me talking. But there's some ain't shit women here. But there are some great women here. And it's not that far out. I'm not. You should still travel, and you should still travel even if you're traveling for women. But when he said, would you still travel if the American women were all like international? Of course.
Brother Domain.
Yeah, I was just going to address that question. He said that if the women in foreign countries acted like women in America, he wouldn't travel. I would travel, bro. I've been traveling before women been involved. I mean, it's just, I see it like this. I give you a lesson in history. When things got bad in Europe for Europeans, that's how they came to the United States and the Western Hemisphere, and they set up shop and conquered shit.
Right.
As an African man, a descendant of an African man, before the Europeans came to our continent and colonized and gave us these pseudo names, we were interacting with each other, traveling all throughout. The richest man in history, Mansa Musa, the richest man in history, traveled. He made a Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca, and along his travels, he gave out so much gold he caused runaway inflation. As African man, an Afro descendant, in my blood, it is in me to travel this world. If you say, and people believe that the African man is the first man on this planet, then this planet is ours. There's no corner of the planet that I should not go to if it ain't by my choice. As a history, the more I study about African histories and African people speak more than one language. I'm not going to isolate myself to a small box in a small community. That's why I speak two languages. That's why I'm learning a third language. I feel as though it's in my DNA to be multilingual, multicultural. Now that doesn't mean I lose myself in who I am, where I come from. Like I told you the other night, like I said the other night, my struggle is my people's struggle worldwide. An injustice to any man in the world is an injustice to all humankind.
So what about the not? What about Wakanda, brother? What about the Iranian? What they call it? The Iranian?
Vibranium?
Vibranium.
What about the vibranium in Wakanda, man? Is it still safe? You're not there.
Yo, it's other brothers that gotta handle that part of the globe for me, man. There's other brothers that gotta handle that part of the globe for me. That's all I can say about that.
B-Dog, what up, man? You over there quiet, man. What's going on, brother?
What's going
Hey, I
on,
wanted
man?
to
Can you
say
hear me?
something.
Go
Oh,
ahead,
go
go
on,
ahead.
say it. Go ahead.
And I was going to say, you asked Andre that question. What was that question you asked, Richie Rich, about besides what attracts you to Colombia? I wanted to answer that question if I may.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, brother. Have at it.
You told him besides
Besides
Women.
women and maybe the food and stuff like that, what attracts you to the culture of Colombia and maybe different Spanish countries that you go to?
Well, what attracts me to Colombia is
What
I would
part
say
of the
that
culture?
okay. What part of the Colombian culture that attracts me the most is the salsa dancing. I love salsa dancing. Also, what attracts me to Colombia, the culture, is the diversity that they have here. They have a place called San Basilio de Palenque. The history of Colombia attracts me. Back when they had slavery, a lot of Colombians, if you look at the history, the Afro-Colombians, they were fighting, and this happened in the States too, they were fighting revolts and they were fighting successful slave revolts. And they went to parts of the country where the European man could not get to them and upset their way of life. They established their own country, their own communities, their own cities. San Basilio de Palenque is one of them. And I have not been there yet, but I'm planning on going to there in the upcoming year. And I want to see how close my African descendant people there are in touch with the African continent as opposed to anywhere else.
Hey, a question. Are we going to address this right here?
What's that?
You see his avatar?
Eskimo brother.
They're like, what? Everybody's quiet about it. I'm like, all right, I'm looking at it.
Maybe you can explain it. I don't know.
Hey, Erwin, can you explain that?
I mean, it's self-explanatory, bro. We're all, I'm pretty sure everybody on this panel is related in some way or another. We're all Eskimo brothers. We've all put we've all probably put a fishing rod in the and hunted the same fish at the same time.
Can I ask that question that you got posted up real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
It said, how do y'all deal with homesickness? Honestly, I don't get homesick. Like I said, I've been traveling ever since I was younger, and I really, heart of hearts, for real, I don't get homesick.
I'll answer that, Jermaine. And I'll be honest. I will say that I don't know if it's categorized as homesickness, but sometimes I do miss my peoples, like my sister or my mom's, you know what I'm saying? Because I would like them to be where I'm at, but their minds aren't the same. But in addition to that, there are certain things I may miss. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it could be simple shit. Like I might miss a steak and shake milkshake. You know what I'm saying? The birthday cake flavor joint. So I don't know if it's like really homesick or missing the country, but with everywhere you go, there's certain things that you miss. You know what I'm saying? But I wouldn't say I miss the country itself.
Beat out Andre, y'all can jump in, you know.
Yeah, and I'm pretty much the same way. I travel a lot too, and it's kind of gotten my system from traveling around America, and that's why I kind of want to kind of travel around around the globe as well. But no, I don't really get. And kind of like what he said, I don't really get homesick either. But I do miss my family. I do have one son, and I travel. I would like to travel back to see him as well. But I've always said this: I want to live out of the country primarily, and vacation to America. You know what I'm saying? That's just me. But yeah, of course, you miss your family. Everyone can't come with you if you live outside the country most of the time, or 80-90% of the time if you're out the country. And you want to come back and see your grandmother. If they're still living, or see your parents or your siblings and things of the nature, your kids, if they're too young to travel with you. So yeah, I wouldn't categorize it as homesickness, but and as far as getting burnt out, I never spent over 6 months outside the country, so I've never gotten burnt out. Would I? I don't think so, but I've never spent more than 6 months outside of the country. So I can't, I can't. Maybe one of the other guys, maybe like Domain or
Andre.
Andre, could answer that question.
I can admit I've gotten homesickness while I was in the United States. When I was talking to B Dot when I first got back, he was one of the few people that I was conversing with in regards to how I really felt while I was back in the States. You spend so much time outside the United States and learning about other cultures and other things. When I got back to the United States, I tell people this about the United States sometimes. United States was the girl that you took to the prom, and then you see her 10 years later, and you tell your boys like she ain't look like that when I took her to the prom. Because you start to realize that you now are open, and the things that you didn't know when you were in the matrix, you completely different. So while got back to United States, I was homesick for my boy had to open up my eyes, man. I kid you not, the first month to 2 months back, and I'm in the United States, and I'm taking care of real estate business for the family. My boy had to tell me, he said, Andre, realize this, you should be homesick because this is not your home. All your clothing, all your furniture, all your everything is outside the country. You're no longer living in just North America. You're living in all of America. So you should be homesick for all your that you established in another country. So yes, I was homesick, but I wasn't homesick for the United States. I was homesick while in the United States. And I've talked to many men that have, as soon as they get off the plane, they're looking around like, man, I'm back here again. Even though they love the States, even though they have family there. Now, for me to answer that question as far as being homesick for the States, it wouldn't be unfair due to the fact that my mother has already passed on, my father has passed on. I live in Florida. My sister and them have only visited me one time in Florida because they just aren't travelers like that. So most of my family members I haven't seen on a regular basis for maybe about 10 years. I still love them. I still go up north to visit everybody. But as far as me having the mental opportunity to be free to travel, it's a lot easier for me to travel because I don't have those connections of having a child to raise or having a girlfriend there, then coming back to being traveling, then coming back to see my girlfriend. I don't have those things to connect me to the States. So it's a little bit easier for me to make the moves that I've made as far as a traveler. So it wouldn't be fair for me to look at a B Dot or Richie Rich or any other individual on the panel that's a father or close to their mom. Their mom has or dad has passed on, or grandma. It wouldn't be fair for me to say that I have no strong connections to as far as immediate family members to stay in the United States. It was easier for me to travel to other countries. And like the other guys were saying, I started traveling to Canada when all you needed was your school ID to go over there. We were going to clubs at 14 years old. I was shooting up the 401 to Toronto when I was 15 because I had a girlfriend up there. So I've been going up to Toronto since I was a kid. So I've always been traveling outside the country. I've been to most of the Caribbean islands, St. Thomas, St. Martin, Barbados, Grand Cayman, Jamaica. I've been to most of the islands already. So being a traveler has always been the makeup of Andre. And so for me to not do that would make, for me to sit in that cubicle and let 10, 20 more years go by, that would be the destruction of Andre. For me to travel and experience these cultures like Flyboy saying, these people, the things that you learn, simple things that you learn as a culture, you can't put a price on that.
You know something I will say, and I think a lot of it has to do with upbringing, and I guess it's because of how I was brought up in my family, and like I said, because like pretty much all the new generation of my family is like people born in the States, or first generation is immigrants, but like it's weird to me when I hear about people not traveling, to be honest with you, and I guess it's simply because like I've always been traveling since I was a little kid. You know what I'm saying? Like it's, and like I said, a lot of it was against my will because I remember there was a time I didn't want to go to Canada. Like I hated Canada. It was cold as fuck. You know what I mean? Like, and I lived in New York, you know, and we used to drive from Brooklyn all the way to Canada. During this time, like Andre said, like I was just able to go there with a birth certificate. I didn't even need a passport. So it's weird when I hear people not traveling or they're not used to traveling, or because to me it's just so natural. You know what I mean? Like it's just always been like that, and I think my parents put that in my head. You know, like going to France because my mom went to studied in France. My dad lived in Canada. So it's like I've just always heard it and been around it, you know, my whole life, that it seems so norm to me. So it's kind of weird when I hear people and they're not familiar with traveling. It's kind of, in a sense, it's like you're making yourself your own prisoner. Like you know, like the States is not keeping you in, like you're keeping yourself in. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you're choosing to be a prisoner and not expand your horizon. And I mean, and I think in a sense, unless you're like extremely educated to where you've taken like social courses or what's the bullshit I had to take in school, humanities, and you understand cultures and stuff like that, and in different countries, in a sense, it kind of keeps you ignorant when you don't know how customs are or traditions are or mannerisms in other countries and things like that. And even simple companies, when you go to like Disney World in Florida or any of the Disney parks, like their employees are really well versed on other countries, you know, without them even having to travel, which is it's just very interesting. I think it's something that everybody should do if you want my opinion. Like it's no reason not to do it.
Yeah, I think people are, as a majority in America, United States, they're happy with the miserable person that they know versus the good person that they don't. The good person that they don't could be traveling, getting to know what's out there. They don't want to know that. It's like the Adam and Eve theory. You know what I mean? Not everybody wants to bite the apple and really learn that there's more to life than just what they've been told and what they've been force fed their whole life. And because of that, that's why I don't even argue with people that that have never traveled. I don't even have a debate with people that don't have ever traveled, because how can we have a debate if you don't know everything that I know? We're not going to ever think alike. And I mean, that's not to say that I'm better than you or not. It's just that I feel as though if a person has more knowledge, if all you know is what they teach you in your books, then you're going to have the same perspective as the people in the books. But if you go out there and learn for yourself, then you're going to have a whole different perspective. And how can we possibly debate on that? You know, so I learned to have to just make peace with the people that don't travel and just say, hey, maybe one day you'll be open to biting the apple.
Yeah. I was just sitting back while Fresh was talking about, no, Domain was talking a moment ago, and I heard something. I just want to confirm it. That another reason that I enjoy Colombia so much, Colombia ranks in the top 5 diverse cultural countries in the world. Colombia has over 85 different cultures in this one country, even though it's not as big and as vast as far as size as the United States, and it may not have as many cultures as the United States. You do have the opportunity to learn so much from the people all the way from Choco, all the way to Barranquilla, all the way to close to the individuals that live right off the edge of Venezuela, all the way to Bogota. It's nothing for me to see a lot of Asian people and people of Arab descent walking around Colombia as well in different locations. So that diversity, I keep leaning back to where Fresh said, is not just about the architecture and designs, but it's the fact that he gets a chance to see people that dress differently, people that talk differently, people that you think you know Spanish until you go to another part of Colombia. There's a completely different expression of Spanish that you never heard even existed. If you go to parts, just certain parts of Cartagena, their Spanish is completely different, and their foods are different, and their clothing is different. And so as soon as you think you've got Colombia on lock as far as this is what it is, just go to a different part, and it's a whole new definition to learn. And those are some of the reasons why I enjoy the country.
I'm gonna tell. I want to say something. Something Dre said that made me think about this. Right. I remember growing up, right? And every time I seen Haitian people, they were always like black people, whatever the typical description of a black person is, whatever. But they were black, various skin tones, and it was through traveling and going to my country where I would actually see Caucasian, as a race, or Asian, Haitian people that spoke the language way better than me, and and if you had the nerve to tell these people like they weren't Haitian, they would literally pull out a machete and fuck you up. Like they'd be willing to die for the shit more. And I remember at a very early age seeing that and it blowing my mind away. And that's how I learned. It was through that I learned that your nationality has to do with where you're born, and race and nationality is something different. And I discovered that at a very, very early age. And I grew up with ignorant people telling me shit like, "Oh, you're Haitian." Are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. And they're like, yeah, but you're light skinned. And it just made me think like, damn, I used to be stupid like that. You know what I mean? Like there's black Germans. You know what I mean? Like, do you tell them they're not German because they're black? You know what I mean? Like, they were born in Germany. That's where they are. That's where they have their rights. That's their citizenship. That's where they can vote at. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it's so crazy because you'll have people be like, oh, Trinidadian or Puerto Rican. And it's like, yeah, but you were born in Cleveland, bro. Like, are you, are you really Trinidadian? Are you really this? Are you really, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's really through traveling, or unless you just understand stuff because you've been educated, that you really see that, and you can really see the ignorance in people, man.
All right, fellas, we rolling up on 2 hours, man. Don't seem like it, but it is what it is. Last night we did a damn near 4 hour show.
Ooh,
Was it 3 hours or four?
three. I think it was three.
Yeah, it was a long damn time, man. I don't want to do that tonight. I want to be able to get up and make my trades beat out. But anyhow, last words, man. I'm gonna end it with Flyboy, man. So start with the main brother Andre, B Dot, Irwin, and then Flyboy. Last words, man.
All right, so quality of life when it comes to measuring certain statistics and factual information, yes, those are tangible places that you can say yes, it ranks some place ranks better than other places. Quality of life, intangible things, peopleness, humanity, and emotional intelligence, those are certain things that you can't rank with statistics and numbers and money wise. It's been a pleasure. All the brothers on the panel, I respect them, and I love the input that we all have together, putting this together, and hopefully we help anybody who's listening, our listening voice in this voice, to make a better decision or be more informative about the path they choose to take. If you want to learn Spanish, El Andalus Learning, holla at your boy.
Hey, y'all sign up with that brother, man. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and put your link in the description while Andre, go ahead and speak your piece, brother.
All right, I feel the same way as the main, that there are 2 points that we've learned tonight, guys. That there are visible and invisible tangibilities when it comes to quality of life. When it comes to the United States does, without a doubt, which we are all a part of making it like this, a one of the top countries in the world as far as the tangibilities of life. But when it comes to some of the invisible things, moral standards, togetherness, oneness, respect, we don't normally hear about the United States ranking as one of the top cities when it comes to the invisible things that are just important as the visible things. So, in order to acquire some of those things, sometimes there's nothing wrong with either looking for it in the States, but it's nothing wrong with also looking for those opportunities outside the United States. And I just want to say once again, I am honored to even be a brother that had got his passport and to be on a panel with such wise gentlemen and travel gentlemen. Most of you guys are individuals that I look up to, and I always tell that on our show, Love Crossing Borders, how much I appreciate each one of you gentlemen and how you've impacted my life. Because if it wasn't for you guys, there really would not be a Love Crossing Borders, and it wouldn't be an Andre sitting here on this side of the world. So I appreciate you, man.
Right on, my brother. B Dot, B Dizzle. Hey, we got a new nickname for you, man. 3%er, man.
Nah, man, don't do that. Don't do that to me, man.
3%.
Don't do that to me, man.
Hey, shoot like Curry, boy. Woo!
Nah, don't do that to me, man. I mean, hey, look, man, you got pros and cons no matter what percent you are, man. But no, the last thing I want to say is, man, if you just look at this panel and look at what we've all said tonight, one of the beauties of it is we all have different experiences and we're all able to tell our story. And a lot of stories are different. And that's what makes this thing beautiful, man. That's what makes this channel amazing, because you have different people that are listening to this channel that have different experiences and are looking for different things, you know, and we're able to give that to them from a different perspective from each one of us, man. So that makes it a beautiful thing, man. Just appreciate you having me on the panel. As always, I always tell everybody this, man. Take that trip, get online, Expedia, you know, jet lag or whatever you want to call it, skip lag or whatever app you got, you know, get out the country if you can. Experience it. I promise you'll thank yourself for it. You know what I'm saying? Just go out there, take a trip. If you can't go out the country, go to Lake Tahoe, go to San Francisco, you know, get out of the city. And I promise you'll thank yourself and you'll have a beautiful experience no matter what you do. All right. That's all I got.
All right. Eskimo brother.
All right. Well, I do want to say that I wasn't in the quality of life discussion, but I will say this. I think quality of life is different for each person. It really depends on what you want and where you are and what you're getting. But my personal opinion, and in addition to what the facts actually state, if you're looking at economy, if you're looking at GDP per capita, if you're looking at education, if you're looking at incarceration, if you're looking at healthcare, if you're looking at retirement, if you're looking at health as the general population, the United States is not even in the top 10. So it really depends on what your quality of life is based on. But in my opinion, you can find quality of life anywhere. And like I said, it's based on what you're looking for. Everything else, you know, I would say I appreciate you brothers for having me on the panel. I appreciate Rich for bringing us together. I want everybody, first and foremost, seek education and, you know, share education with those who want it. Other than that, I still beat my meat in Colombia, bro. So
You stupid.
I don't.
I don't care where I'm at. I don't care where I'm at, bro. It don't matter. It don't matter the country. It don't matter how bad the women are in the country. Hey, I'm just being real.
Damn, man. Go ahead. You got to go behind that one, Fluff.
Yeah, I'll go behind somebody beating their meat.
Oh, shit.
Yes. Okay, I don't. Yeah, like I said, if you see my name, the Flyboy Way. You know what that means? That means I seen the majority out there. I listed all of the facts of quality of life, but those facts should mean nothing to you. Even though it's what the majority says it is, those facts should be nothing to you, because I'm going back to my name, the Flyboy Way. See, in my life, I grew up and all I knew was drug dealers, celebrities, basketball players, and stars. There was nothing else growing up. And most of us all come from a place where that's all we knew as black men in America, in the United States. Even if we had both our parents, even if we had a great upbringing, we were only taught rapper, basketball player, celebrity, or actor. Most of us wasn't given that chance to do anything else. But guess what? Me, I found my way. My way. And I know if I can find my way, which you can see on my channel on all platforms, if I can find my way, then you can find your way to provide the best quality of life wherever you're at. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what the facts say. It doesn't matter what the majority thinks. Because in the end of life, you're only living for yourself. You should only be living for yourself. And when I say yourself, I mean your family. But you should only be living for yourself to find your way. And I'm going to end this with two things. And the first thing I'm going to say is immortality lies not in the ability to sustain one's life for an infinite amount of time, but rather to experience an infinite life in the time allowed. Most of us as black men, we only live to about 70. So if you're going to live away, you don't follow anybody else. You only got the 70 to do it once. You got one time to do it once. So find your way. My way is the Flyboy way, and that's THEFLYBOYWAY. Don't ask why. Just check out my channel. Peace.
Oh, he dropped the mic on y'all. Whoa! Hey, I appreciate everybody coming out, man. You know, I mean, you brothers hit everything on the head, man. Like, I mean, no matter whether you're traveling for the culture, for the scenery, you know, to see the tourist areas, to see the rural areas, whatever. If you're traveling just for women, I mean, some of us do that. You know, if you're traveling for the pros, whether you're traveling for love, whatever you're traveling for, man, just continue to do you, man. You know, and stop worrying about what other people say because it's none of your business. You know what I'm saying? What other people think is none of your business, man. So just keep doing what you're doing. You know, stay positive and keep traveling, man. That's the only thing I can say. Shout out to Jackie Allison, aka Eskimo Brother, aka I Jack off in Colombia. Hey, y'all have a oh, y'all call him Nathaniel Jr.? Damn. Why y'all call him Nathaniel Jr.?
They call me Nathaniel Jr. I take it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Nathaniel Jr.
Listen. I mean, I've seen Nathaniel on the show. I've seen him say things. Nobody could sit here and say that everything he said was 100% wrong. Like there's been stuff that he said that's true. You know what I mean? Like
That's true.
that goes for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like no one's 100% right.
Right. And shout out to Tampa Twan again, man. Appreciate them super chat. B-Dot, Johnny Mitchell, let me see, Jackie, rest of the super chats. Let me see who else was in there. If I forgot you, I'm sorry. You know, brothers ain't perfect, man. But I like to do another show this before the week is out. I'm not sure the topic, man. If anybody got a good topic, let's try to come up with it. And you know, just keep traveling. Y'all hit me up at rollthetape@yahoo.com. Any show suggestions, comment, whatever y'all got, hit me up. Holla. Young Holla, aka 3%er, aka Mr. Window. Mr. Window. Anything else, Andre? Sound like you got something you want to get off the chest, bro.
Oh no! I'm like I said, I just appreciate.
So when you doing another live on your show, tell people about your show, man.
Doing with Love Crossing Borders. You guys can just go to look. Even if you put in Love Crossing on your YouTube, I mean on going into YouTube, it'll automatically put in Borders for you. So go ahead, subscribe to Love Crossing Borders, support the channel. Thank you guys for having us and helping our channel continue to grow because we're trying to show love from a different perspective, love for other cultures as well as love in relationships on our channel. So that's one of the things that we enjoy doing. Love crossing borders and falling in love the borders that you cross.
All right, peace out, fellas.
Last thing
that
I wanted to say that which we closed the show with, which kind of like tie it into what Flyboy was saying. We close our show with letting guys know that you have one life, one chance, one time. So make sure you take advantage of it.
Right. Yo, man, you got one life to live, man. So do you, man. Fuck what
Don't
everybody
beat
else
your meat.
talking about.
Don't beat your meat. Hit them streets. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's what the street
Don't
needs.
beat your feet, beat your feet, hit the streets.
Hey, everyone be up in his Airbnb like, damn, that was a bad bitch on here. God damn, that motherfucker.
Hey,
I
hey,
ain't
listen,
spending
man.
no money.
Hey, so sometimes you do what you do, they leave, and you like, dang, I shouldn't have sent her home so early, and you still got, hey, you still got one in you, bro.
But you got a number. All you gotta do is, hey, baby, come on back for a minute.
Hey, ain't no time for that, man. When you gotta go, you gotta go.
All right.
Hey, you can take the matrix out of the dude, but you can't take the dude out of the matrix.
Right. Shit, the Matrix got you beating your meat, man. When you go abroad, shit, you ain't supposed it's plentiful over there, bro.
Hey, listen, man. I'm just being 100, bro. You know.
All right, well, hey,
Peace out.
peace.
All right.
Peace.